do my shows at a garage where you can hear the outside. So and but it's just that, I mean, it sounds nice and stuff like that, and if you have it, then good, use it the most you can. But I don't think you should like stress too much on getting those things at the moment.
How about what is it? Um, the other audio program.
I don't know.
Audition. Yeah,
Oh.
Audition.
Okay. That one too. I mean, it's. I would say it's a lot like GarageBand. I would say. I didn't get too much into it. I just use GarageBand for most of the part. But I know in some of the studios they don't have that because they don't use Apple. So if I probably had more practice on it, I probably would know better at it. But I didn't take too much practice on it. Again, like when I did my shows here, I didn't edit too much of it. I didn't feel like when I did my shows here, it's just I just did I should have probably so it could sound better, so I could sound more professional. But I mean, it's also better to listen to things like raw and live. I guess some people like to listen to that too, and it's just the authenticity of it. But I don't really work too much on that.
And in addition to broadcasting, you had experience with like getting those hard-hitting news stories. Tell me about your experience. You mentioned a little while ago before the show started about a story.
Oh yeah. I was a news editor. There was a story going around. This was I believe when was this? This was spring 2012. Damn. Wow. I mean that was a while ago. Sorry, that was a while ago. At the time there was this play going around. And I worked on. I was covering I had to cover this event, this pitch that the editor in chief gave me at the time, telling me like, hey, there was a guy on campus with a gun. Go find out about it. And I was like, oh wow, well okay. So at that same day too, before that, I had to cover a baseball game. So first, I believe first I went to the baseball game and. At the time, the players there didn't really like talking when they lost, and then they did lose. So I was kind of upset they weren't giving me really anything. They weren't giving me anything. They don't even want to talk to me. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna go try to work on this news story, see what I could find over there. So I went over there to the theater department and see what I could find there. And I saw the director there at the time. I saw him. He was there, and then I told him like because this guy who supposedly allegedly brought the guns, or the gun. He was part of the play, and so I told him like, well, it's better. Probably the best person to know about this is the director. So I asked him, is like, hey, what can you tell me about this? And he said, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. So that kind of bothered me too. I was like, well, that sucks. I was hoping to get something out of you, but and that also got me. In your mind, also got you. Well, there might be a reason why he doesn't want to tell you anything about the story, the particular thing. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what else I can find. I believe I got the police report, and then I went to. So I was already heated because I wasn't getting any answers from anybody. So I took some time to calm myself down because it was frustrating. And then I went over outside again and see if I could find any students who are actually involved in the play. And I found some, and then I talked to them, and they actually gave me the name of the alleged guy who had the gun on campus. So I was like, oh great, this is good, this is good. And then I looked at the police report, and when I read the police report, it was kind of wow, it was a big factor in the moment because I was reading it. If you ever read a police report, it's very descriptive of what happened on that when they caught him with that, because you figured like that's already big. Well, that's already big. Just you hear the words. There was a guy on campus with a gun. That's not just like, oh, whatever. It's like that's a big issue. Well, he could have done. What was he planning to do with that gun? So I read the police report, and apparently what I read, it was this guy did not only just have one gun. This is probably the coolest thing I like for telling the story. But he had several in his backpack and blades. So I'm reading them like, well, this is big. This is something that nobody's telling me about. And then I read here in the police report. So I'm trying to figure out like some people need to talk about this because nobody seems to be talking. What they did do was they put like a alert around the campus, these flyers saying like watch out for this guy. But again, like there was this guy on campus with a whole bunch of guns. What can he do done? So I talked more about it, and that's the one thing I do regret about being a news editor, that I could have worked so much with this story, but it didn't happen. Maybe right now, if Talon Marks is listening to me, maybe they're looking into it. Like, hey, what happened with that incident a couple years, 4 years ago? What happened to that guy? Yeah, that was one of the biggest stories. So I like covering that story. I also covered one of my favorite stories that I did cover was my first semester. I covered the 9/11 remembrance ceremony here, and that's the time where I actually got to talk to a colonel here who was very much involved with it, and I remember telling myself, if what the best, it'll be great if I could find a way to actually interview that guy. That would be, if I could get that guy, then I'll be so satisfied with this story. That's what I was remember telling myself. But this is like about the first months of me, being a writer there. So I'm figuring, like, how do I, I didn't know much about, like, going up to him and asking him these questions. So I just worked myself and talked myself into getting the confidence to go up to him and just like, hey, I'm part of the newspaper, and I want to ask you a couple questions. So and that was mainly and I actually got to interview him, and that was pretty satisfying for me, because my instructor at the time, he didn't think I actually went up to him, and he thought it was what's called a bogus source. But I told him, like, no, I actually went up to him and talked to him, and I had a nice little interview with him. He said, oh, okay, well, good. So I felt pretty good.
In addition, sometimes we've heard the term about how journalism can serve as a watchdog. Tell me about that phrase thing that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Talon Marks, they're journalists, they're student journalists, and a lot of people take them, like, they see them, and then they're just like, and they read these newspapers, and they point out a whole bunch of mistakes, and but then again, like I said, these are students at the same time. They're just like students, like anybody else with a different major who studying that particular program. So they're learning how to be like watchdogs, like you said. Like they see something that's going on campus, and like when I was talking about that gunman story, I was I could have easily like just ignored it or whatever. But my job was to find out what was the problem. There was a lot of questions involved in that story. And my job was to, like, pretty much find out the answer to all these questions that were around. That was my job. So, and that's the job of any journalist, is like they see a big, there's this even scandals, like there's rumors going around, or somebody's not a political figure here, student political figure is not doing right. There were many cases like that when I was in the Talon Marks, and our job was, again, like, a lot of people might not like it, they call us, they think we're nosy or whatever, but again, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to do that in order for for us to get practice, because there's going to be a lot of students who actually grow to be journalists, and they're going to have to go to their political figures, and if there's something going on there, they have to ask some questions here. So right here, since they are student government leaders, then there's that big upside for the student journalists to practice going up to them, and if there's something going on, because there's a lot of things that go on in student government, it's just like any other politics. So that gives them that freedom, and you could look at a lot of students here, probably they don't care what's going on around, but the main thing is that it for the program, it teaches future journalists to know how to tackle a particular situation, a particular story, where to go from there. So there's a pitch going on that says, a certain political figure is taking money from whatever, is stealing or whatever, and then it's like, okay, well, let me see, how do I tackle this? Do I just like go up to him and be like, hey, what are these rumors that you're doing this or that? So that's the one thing, and then for there, then you write it down, and then for students, it's up to them to wanting to read it or even care for it. But it's just for practice for them, and it's a pretty good way of learning.
Cool. And we'll be right back after this quick break.
Next week, WPMD welcomes the new members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in a big way. Sunday morning, starting at 9 Pacific, we present a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame mini music festival. 5 hours of never-aired concerts from Cheap Trick, Chicago, Deep Purple, and the Steve Miller Band. Then, on Monday night at midnight, we begin a special week of album breaks, featuring albums from new inductees. On Monday, it's Steve Miller and Circle of Love. On Tuesday, it's Chicago and Chicago 3. Wednesday, it's Deep Purple and Slaves and Masters. And we close things out on Thursday with the latest LP from Cheap Trick, Bang, Zoom, Crazy, Hello. All part of our special week honoring the new inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's happening only on WPMD on the net, where people make a difference.
During the week of Earth Day, there will be a multitude of workshops on campus to help you learn how you can help the Earth. And Thursday, April 21st, in Falcon Square, between 10 a.m. to 12, there will be fun activities and chances to win a $50 scholarship and tickets for a free vegan meal at the Green Food Truck. Participants will get a free vegan meal. They will also get t-shirts and prizes. So come on down to Falcon Square and check out the fun activities for Earth Day.
If you slowly lost the ability to walk, what would you remember about your final steps?
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you
why it
on, we
does
took
that.
a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
And welcome back to the Falcon Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Rob Flores, here at Cerritos College, Norwalk, California. Remember, you can email me at robert06flores@gmail.com or look for my fan page, Cerritos College Falcon Spotlight, on Facebook and YouTube. Now, I'm back here with my guest. So, you've got to do quite a bit, from your time here at Cerritos College. But what's next after schooling? Where do you see yourself?
Oh, well, I want to really grow my brand, ecstaticradio.com. That's what I'm really looking into that, and I'm looking for ways to start to actually make it just focusing on that, meaning grow it so much to where it's people are actually going to the website a lot, and I want to grow more content. Like I want to do either more podcasts or just write articles that people want to read, or even do multimedia videos or shows. Because one thing that I really did study, I'm studying right now in Arizona State, is film and media studies. So I'm really learning. One of my biggest wanted to do is write for film, or make films. So that's really what I'm looking into, and I'm looking for ways to start doing that. I already have ideas for TV shows or whatnot, and that's one thing that I'm really looking into is building my brand as far as content, like seeing what's the content what's the next step for content. Like, okay, I'm right now getting my thing on podcasting, and next is probably TV shows or just like video casting. That's probably the next step, and then from there, of course, make TV shows, and ultimately, because even actually write a film or produce a film. That would be pretty good, pretty cool. One of the things that I really want to look into.
Cool. And how have you been getting the word out of your work online?
Well, I share a lot on my social media. I have social media accounts for both my for Sports Next Radio and ecstaticradio.com. So it's like Sports Next Radio is on Ecstatic Radio. So I use Instagram. I have a Facebook page for both of them, and I try to get my word out there from there, and just get people I see on the street. If you want to hear about sports, anybody that I know that I talk a lot about sports with, tell them that I have this show. Listen to tune in or whatnot, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. What about like a card or something? Also.
Oh, I haven't worked on that. I should work on starting getting a card. So, or write a flyer. I have a banner that I use at home, but it's just a banner. It's not like I could just walk everywhere with it. But it's I'm just little by little I'm trying to get these things to put together. There's obviously a lot of obstacles on the way, so I'm trying to get through them to be able to do that.
Cool. I always ask my guests this question too. Aside from being a student, what do you get to do on your free time? What do you enjoy?
I enjoy watching movies a lot, and I like watching movies. I'm a big movie guy. TV shows, or listening to music, going to concerts, or things like that. Yeah, that's about it.
What kind of TV shows?
TV shows. Well, I do look at Netflix a lot. I've been starting to watch this TV show, Portlandia. My favorite TV shows, of course, of all time is The Simpsons, but it's not on Netflix. I watch Portlandia, Wet Hot American Summer. That's another TV show that I've been watching. Louis C.K. Things like that. The Office. Not really into like those The Walking Dead or Breaking Bad. I'm not really into all that. I'm just more. I guess you can say I'm more into the comedy TV shows than anything.
You probably see Phil mentally going, mention WWE.
Oh, actually no, I haven't done that in a while. It's been actually quite a while. And of course, in TV shows, sports shows, like even UFC, one of the things we talk about is also UFC, which has started to become a thing now. So, yeah, that's mostly the TV shows we all watch.
Okay. Now, for the UFC, do you have like a favorite fighter?
I do. I'm not as big as I am with other sports, say baseball. But UFC, there's one fighter I like to watch is Carlos Condit in the welterweight division. He's pretty cool, but that's about it. I mean, there's more, but because by the way, that new video game, the UFC video game, is actually pretty good. So I recommend if you're a big fan of that sport and you like fighting and not really fighting outside, and you rather just take it on your TV screen, that's a pretty good game.
I read that CM Punk was gonna be in the new.
Oh yeah. I actually enjoy that because it allowed me to beat him up really badly, and I don't like him, so I enjoyed beating him up with anybody I have there.
Oh, okay.
That's the only place where you get to beat him up because in reality he could take you to downtown.
You got to check out his podcast?
Yeah, actually, not really. No, I do listen to, as far as other podcasts that I do listen to, one of my biggest inspiration was the Kevin and Bean Show. It's on K-Rock in the mornings. I listened to that. I used to listen to that one even before like podcasts became a thing. I was in senior year or 11th grade. I had a class, so all we did was just work, and I would have my earphone on, listen to it, and I would laugh every now and then. And of course, nobody notices that I have my earphone on, so I'm there going, we're there for being quiet for like an hour, and then I go, and everybody just looks at me like, what's wrong with this guy? He's just laughing to himself. So that's one of the podcasts I do listen to. Some of those wrestlers actually have pretty good podcasts, like Chris Jericho. He has also a pretty good podcast. Stone Cold Steve Austin has a pretty good podcast. Those are mostly the podcasts that I listen to. Oh, that I would say that's what I want to do. That's something I want to sound like that. So yeah.
So you did a lot at Cerritos. You're also on the plaque of the former Campus News Hour directors.
Uh-huh.
What do you want your legacy to be? If someone, had the opportunity to meet you, what do you hope, stayed in their minds to remember you of?
I saved the world. I'm playing. Something like, I think one of the biggest things that I'm taking out of here is, that I feel like I did okay with is WPMD. I guess there's a time too with WPMD was, try to get up there, and then I stuck by it, and I did pretty much. I had a lot of semesters here, and then it's just that I hope that they learned that they could do a lot. You could start off from sounding like the worst thing ever on your first show here, and then you grow your way up there from sounding like that, and you probably still sound bad after a couple semesters, but the point is, you getting that experience. It's just that it's not too much. I don't feel like I've saved the world yet. So yeah.
What do you have to say to Phil? He's our biggest fan right now.
He's our biggest fan.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I it's good to know I have fans. And stay in school. Don't do anything else. Don't go too crazy. Don't get out of drugs. Saying that like he's on them.
Festus? You like Festus or what?
Huh?
Remember Festus?
Festus.
Oh, you don't remember Festus? Remember CM Punk and Festus turning him into Luke Gallows?
Oh yeah, straight edge. Yeah, stay straight edge.
And again, your email.
Well, my email is ecstatic957@gmail.com. They can reach me there for anything concerning Ecstatic Radio. And I'm also looking for, if people want to write. You want to write about sports. You want to write about music. You want to write about politics. We're taking all that into it, and of course the more you could do it just for your meantime that you don't have anything going on. You feel like writing something. Just email me there, or you can find me on Facebook again, Sports Next Radio, or ecstaticradio.com on Facebook, and all those social media outlets. You can find me there.
Sounds good. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here on the Falcon Spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this episode. Until next time, folks.